All right, so this is our first of 2 lessons in our gender unit, and we're going to start out talking about the concepts of sex, gender, and sexuality. And before you watch this video, you should have watched the paradox video. I linked the instructions in Sakai to get to that for free. All right, so in terms of our learning outcomes for this lesson, our goals are to be able to distinguish the concepts of sex, gender, and sexuality, and then consider challenges to the binary system, because each of these have been thought of as very binary, 2 and only 2, where a person is either or. So they're either male or female, man or woman, straight or gay. But taking the social constructivist lens, we are going to try to challenge those binaries. And then students will be able to define doing gender and discuss gender as a performance. So thinking back to dramaturgical theory and impression management. And then third, we want to be able to think about, identify how gender can intersect with other social positions. All right, so part 1, sex. So in terms of the definition of sex, these are biological differences that distinguish people. So these biological differences can be found in our genes, our chromosomes, and our hormones. And so we can think about, these are real differences, of course, but what we make of these differences, these are biological differences, but what we make of these differences isn't necessarily biological, and these things can operate in a two-way street. So in terms of sex, we have male-bodied people, we have female-bodied people, and we have intersex people. And so one of the, like I said, Conley rewrote chapter 8 and in the 6th edition here, and one of those editions is a more inclusive focus on intersex folks. So let's talk about intersex for just a moment here. Oh dear, I'm covering the number here of 1500. So I'm going to pop out of the screen for just a moment. All right, so intersex genital variation happens, it's pretty low, but it does happen in about 1 out of every 1,500 to 2,000 American births. And this means that babies are born with a more ambiguous genitalia. And so sex assignment then is done in the hospital, assigning a baby to being either a male or female, and this often depends on the presence or absence of the phallus. And when there is uncertainty, what has been done in the past, but it's becoming less common now, is quote-unquote corrective surgery on the babies to have them fit into the sex binary, to have them be a male or female body. But when we think historically, we've actually seen different ways that we've assigned sex, either through genital appearance, sex hormones, sex chromosomes, or the brain. I'll pop back into the screen here since you've seen that number already. So one example of variation is called hyperandrogenism, and this is having higher than quote-unquote normal levels of androgen in females, and that's one of those hormones. And now we could go on to question, what is a normal level? How is that decided? Who gets to decide that? That's going to be outside of our scope today. But this is one way that intersex variation happens. Another intersex variation is called complete androgen insensitivity syndrome. So this is folks who have XY chromosomes, that's typically male chromosomes, but who have outward female appearances, such as having breasts, a vagina, and minimal ability to develop secondary male sex characteristics, like having a lot of facial hair. Other examples, there are other examples too. Androgen insensitivity syndrome, where folks can't metabolize androgens, and having ambiguous genitalia at birth, or such as having internal or external testes, but also a vagina. So lots of different variations. So in the 1900s, especially earlier 1900s, babies often underwent sex assignment surgery to fit into the male or female body, usually fitting them into a female body. This practice has definitely lessened in 2006. The American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, really recommended avoiding unnecessary surgery, and the textbook talks about some of the more recent advancements there too. The next part of the video, part 2, we'll talk about gender.